He didn't know that. So
Something heavy.
He's very close. What is? I will see right there, it's just 40 years behind him. He's the little brother you're supposed to have. Where's the guy? Hi. I'm sorry. You better go to the cast, yes. Right. I was just talking to somebody. I was just talking to somebody about Rock'em Sock.
Me, it was me.
Was it? Do you remember those? Yeah, yeah, there you go. The guy who's been also. They still make Rock'em Sock robots.
In the retro, they do the retro sets. Along with the Nintendo.
I want the original.
Yeah, like original.
Did you hear this? The guy who made that, invented light bright too. Did both of them.
Oh.
I did not. Possibly yesterday. It's 99.
Oh, Light Bright was.
Light
fun,
bright.
too.
Light bright was fun until you messed up the pattern.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what's wrong? Now it's all.
Just like this.
You just outed it and quit. Get good. Light bright was the invention that parents were like, hey. Is it to the kid like what?
So there's back.
Easy bake oven, that was fast.
Yeah. See, we had no easy pick up. Did you ever do a hook rub? Those a long time too. You messed that up. A hook rub? Did a hook rub?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was, again, it was the parents' way of getting you to sit down and shut up. Because it took an hour.
I remember playing with a wood burning set in the back of the station wagon.
What?
A wood burning set.
In the car.
Yeah, back of the station wagon. With my brothers.
That doesn't sound safe. That doesn't sound safe at all.
Didn't have a wood trim on the inside of the station wagon.
Oh, I'm sure they all did back then.
Yeah. Okay, good morning. It is 10 a.m. We ask you to please rise for the opening prayer and pledge of allegiance if you're able, before we convene the Commissioner's public meeting. Dear Heavenly Father, as we near Thanksgiving, let's be thankful for all you provide. Grace, love, and kindness that blessed us as a nation for 250 years. Accept our thanks and praise for all you've done. Beauty of creation, the wonder of life, the blessing of family and friends, and the love you surround us. Lord, guys, as we discuss the proposed budget going into next year, we pray for your wisdom to guide each of us as we move towards a balanced final budget in the months and years ahead. May we show gratitude and thanks for our current blessings. Lead our guidance towards making responsible and effective decisions. We trust that you'll provide the days and years to come. These things we humbly bring to you this morning in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good morning. This is a special session of the Board of Commissioners to talk about the proposed 2026 county budget. And do we have any public comment on agenda items only? We have one item on the agenda. Do we have any comments on the county budget? Anything online?
Nothing online as of yet.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll turn it over to Maya. Good morning,
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, commissioners. Today I propose the budget for calendar year 2026. The total proposed budget is $123,254,342. This is an overall decrease of $5,452,008 from the 2025 budget. The preparation of the 2026 budget has been exceptionally stressful and challenging as a result of the state budget impasse as well as the federal government shutdown. Both have drastically delayed reimbursements and revenue streams that Lycoming County relies on heavily to operate efficiently. These external factors have also compounded our internal fiscal challenges. Internally, the county continues to face the burden of rising healthcare costs, essential service demands, and pressure to address long-term capital needs with limited revenue and financial resources. Healthcare costs have increased by approximately $4.63 million. Juvenile probation services have increased by an additional $2.68 million. The landfill also continues to financially struggle, and many years of drawing from the fund balance to cover operational gaps rather than securing bonds or sustainable revenue solutions for capital projects has left the county in a very vulnerable financial position. For several years, these type of critical financial issues have not been adequately addressed. And as a result, we are now facing significant budgetary and cash flow pressures that require immediate and responsible action. Despite our ongoing efforts to control spending, streamline operations, and identify new sources of revenue, the structural imbalance between expenses and revenue growth remains a concern. To maintain essential services and long-term fiscal health, the county had to make very difficult but necessary budget decisions. Over the past 2 years, my financial team and this Board of Commissioners have worked diligently to minimize the financial impact on taxpayers by tightening departmental budgets, reducing discretionary spending, and carefully managing our fund balance. When the preliminary 2026 budget was first submitted to financial management for review, it reflected a structural deficit of approximately $23 million. Through an exhaustive due diligence process, financial management was able to produce a balanced budget for 2026 without relying on the fund balance for the first time in several years. Unfortunately, our costs still continue to outpace our revenue growth. At this time, the only responsible action is to implement a $500,000 tax increase to maintain fiscal stability. This will be the first tax increase for Lycoming County since 2018. We are mindful of the burden this tax increase places on our residents. This was a very difficult decision, and it was made with great care and consideration, but it is necessary to protect and restore the financial health of the county. I also acknowledge that this process has been extremely difficult for our departments and my financial team. I would like to thank all our department heads and elected officials for working through these challenging times. The Board of Commissioners and the Controller's Office for their collaboration, partnership, and shared commitment to fiscal responsibility. And to my staff, Heather, Shanine, Lisa, and Angela, thank you. Your support, hard work, and dedication every day has carried us through this very difficult budget process. I would also like to extend a special thank you to Heather Lehman, my Chief Budget Officer. Her tireless work on this budget, your expertise and insight have been instrumental and invaluable in navigating this very challenging budget process. I'm very grateful for you. You know that. You've been by my side through tough times. Thank you. Turn it over to Heather, and she's going to highlight the proposed 2026 budget.
Thank you, Maya. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning. Ready to turn this on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna outline a few of the highlights of the 2026 budget. The first is we did reduce our revenue, unfortunately, by about 5.5 million, which is an overall decrease of 4.24% from 2025's budget. Along with that was expenditures as well, which decreased 5.5 million with a 4.24% decrease from the current budget. Main factors impacting our expenditures include personnel and benefit cost, service cost, and an increased cost in our juvenile probation as well. This proposed budget does include a 0.5 mil tax increase, taking the county tax rate to 7.00 mils. That equivalates to $50 per every $100,000 of assessed value. And this will mark the first tax increase we've had since 2018. Just to give you a budget summary of all the funds, you can see that general fund has roughly 80 million. Our special revenue is about 20 million. Our debt service is about 3 million. And our enterprise fund, which is the landfill, is at about 19 million. So you can see the overall and then the expenditures as well. For all the revenues, our main revenue is taxes. It makes up about 35% of our revenue that the county does bring in. The next would be, we have licenses and permits, intergovernmental, which is federal, state, and local revenue, which is usually in the form of grants. And then there's other revenue from that as well, payments in lieu of taxes. Then we also have charge for services. This is payments from customers for provision of specific services to a person or entity. Sale of county products, interest, which is earned on any of our county bank accounts and our investment accounts as well. We also have cost fines and forfeitures. We have miscellaneous revenue. This revenue is usually anything from rent to telephone fees at the prison. It's not anything that's directly related to departments, but it's revenue that the county does receive. And then as well as other sources, which would be operating transfer of funds. And this year, the landfill will be giving us a host fee of $2 million. They're set to make a profit this year. So we will have it, and that would be our other sources. Fund balance. Now this year, we are not using fund balance as that is an unknown source right now. So we did not rely on any fund balance. And then for our expenses, the general government expenses is usually your commissioner's office, voter registration, human resources, maintenance, and budget and finance. And then we have our judicial departments, which is the sheriff, coroner, courts, the district attorney, and public defender. And there's public safety, which is the prison, adult and juvenile probation, communications, which is DPS, emergency services, and hazardous materials. We also have public works, which is our liquid fuels, our community development block grants, flood mitigation, and economic development, as well as resource management services, which is the landfill. Our human services department is the children and youth and veterans affairs. And then for our culture and recreation, that is our Act 13 funding, which is what makes up that. For the conservation and development, that is the county farm, the ag extension, and the conservation district. And then our debt service is all of our bonds that we have. Then for miscellaneous, that is our employee fringe and liability insurance, which does make up a huge cost to the county. And then our capital assets, which is anything that capital wise that we plan to do for this year, which we did drastically cut that due to the deficit that we were having. And then other sources would be transfer of funds from one governmental fund to another. And then you can see the comparison from 2026 to the current budget. And we did reduce. I will say the main highlights of reduction for income was not using any fund balance due to the fact of it being unknown. We did lose some federal and state revenue, and this is made up of just from grants. We do not have as many grants for next year as we did for this year's budget. And then you can see for expenditures, the biggest cost is obviously the juvenile probation, which has doubled their budget since from this year to next year. And then for public comment, the budget will be available for public inspection on the county's website. We will also have hard copies available during our normal business hours at the commissioner's office, controller's office, treasurer's office, and financial management department. And a copy will also be at the James B. Brown Library. And as well, any adjustments we've made from today through the final approval will be announced at the formal adoption on Thursday, December 18th, 2025. That concludes our presentation.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Personally, I'd like to thank Maya, Heather, and their team. As we started this process, we were over 20 million in a deficit. And then to expand it to all the row officers and the department heads, the courts that have worked with us. We went to the courts, asked the courts to work with us. They cut an additional $1 million out of their budget since last week. And we want to thank them the employees for understanding and working with us. No one wants to ever raise taxes. The reality is, at some point you have to, due to rising costs. There's been two tax increases actually since 2004. The one that was highlighted most recent, 2018, and I believe the other one was 15 going into 16. So the county has been very limited in their tax increases over the years. I want to thank my two colleagues, especially for working. This has been very stressful. We know it affects everyone's lives. And we spent a lot of hours making decisions on what to cut. We have basically cut $28 million out of the budget over the last 2 years. That's substantial. And yet we still have to raise the taxes in order to replenish that fund balance. It's like operating any business, have to have cash flow to run a business, and we have to have cash flow to pay our bills. That fund balance is critical to make sure that things get paid and get paid on time. We'll continue to look at this. This is a proposed budget. We'll continue to look at up till the final budget, see where else we can make adjustments. But we want to thank everybody for helping us. The impasses from the state and the federal did not help. We were still state monies and I believe a little bit of federal monies had to come in, accounting for those in the proposed budget and getting through the remainder of this year. Also want to thank the Controller's Office for their work. Thank you. Your team's been outstanding also. Emily, thank you for what you've done. We couldn't do this unless we do it as a team. It's a team approach. That's how we operate in the county. And we're thankful for everybody. It's a very, very stressful, difficult times right now. Going into next year, as noted, this is the first time we have not used the fund balance our budget. We're getting to the balanced budget. That's been our goal, to move to a balanced budget and not sugarcoat it. That's being fiscally responsible. That's what we're going to continue to do. And so the challenges aren't over yet. And we'll meet them head on as leaders. And we're ready to ship to make sure that we're fiscally responsible going into the future, as we've been in the last several years. Continue to do so. Commissioner?
You want to take
Yeah. No, I'll try not to be super long.
Okay.
I would follow through with Commissioner Metzger and thank the team, because it does take a team, and it's not just the three of us give direction. The teams are who does the work, and I appreciate the Controller's Office, our financial management team, and our Treasurer's Office. Because without all those three teams working together, the money doesn't come in and the money doesn't get spent and the money doesn't get double checked. This has been something that's part of my goal as I continue through this first term, is that the checks and balances are also in place, that we're making sure where the spending is going and why, and we're making sure the money that comes in and goes to the proper spaces. So we're watching all that as well. So I appreciate the team. I also appreciate the department heads that have made these cuts. I don't think any one of them wanted to make any cuts, but they've done it because they understand the situation. And the situation isn't a bad situation. It's a situation that we've overspent as a county for many, many years. We've had Act 13 money come in, we had ARPA money come in, and everybody just felt, hey, this is great, all this money, and just boom, piss it away, and there we go. And unfortunately, the three of us are the ones that have to fix it. And the decision of a tax increase was very, very difficult for me. I felt that the residents of this county elected me to not have that tax increase and to cut the expenditures. I'm proud to say, as Commissioner Metzger said, we have cut expenses since the three of us have been your commissioners by $28 million. Anybody that doesn't think we're not doing our job by doing that, trust me, we are working at it. We are trying to make this happen. We cannot make it happen to have the cash flows, as Commissioner Metzger said, to continue to operate regularly without this small tax increase. And the fact that it hasn't happened since 2018 Unfortunately, every once in a while, it does have to happen. But along with that consistency of cutting the budget, we have things ahead for 2026 that we're going to be working on that will also reduce the 2027 budget and expenditures. We have created a budget, as he also mentioned, that I would say in the first in 20 years that we have not used the fund balance to balance this budget. I wish maybe Heather would have left that up here or spent a little more time on that particular line. And I'm going to repeat it again. We did not touch the fund balance. That's our savings account. I had the conversation with our department heads. Do we want to be the generation that spent grandma's savings account? Because that's who we were. That's where we were going. We were going to cash it all out and have nothing. We're fixing that. We're not going to touch that fund balance. We now need probably $500,000 a year to throw back into the fund balance to get it back to a $20 million level. I think legally we should be somewhere in the $14 million level. And I'm going to estimate, without knowing any of the financials yet, because we're still waiting from many years when we had fights between our controller's office and our commissioner's office, and these audits didn't get done. We're speculating about 10 million is what's left. Could be less, could be more. But that means we need to put 5 million back into it over the next 5 or 6 years. We're going to do that. We're going to make that happen. We're never going to have, well, the three of us sit here together, we will never have the use of fund balance to balance our budget. The other thing we have going on is we have a trans, and that stands for a tax revenue anticipation note. Thank you, ma'am. I knew the anticipation before I sat down here and I lost it. But that's something that has been done in the past. We've had to do it just because the money wasn't here at the end of the year, and we don't get new income until March, because that's when everybody pays their taxes again. We're gonna need to do it again. I had long conversations with our bank. We are financially secure enough that there is no issue getting a new trans and rolling over the previous balance that we had. We don't want to add to it. We just want to take what we owe this year, pay it off. And again, the three of us are committed not having a trans in the future while the three of us sit at this table. That to me is if you have to borrow against what you think is coming in, it puts you in a bad situation. So we are vowed to not do that again. We want to get this one paid off. And with this tax increase, that's part of the tax increase. It helps us to pay that off, have cash flow without having to do this in the future. The tax increase, not popular. Not going to be popular at all with anybody. But again, it was our final decision that did not come easy for any of us. And I will honestly say, all three of us were on a different page. And, as professional people do, we sat down in a room together until the decision was made. And then we left the room. We all left with smiles on our faces. We all left shaking each other's hands. We don't hate each other for the decisions, but it was a decision that had to be made. We came to what we feel is a great agreement between the three of us of what this county needed to stay financially strong, which is also part of our responsibility. All three of us did not like the idea of a tax increase. And all three of us had different ideas of what that should be. But at the end of the day, all three of us knew it was something we had to do to keep us financially strong going into the future. And that's what we're committed to, keeping Lycoming County financially strong. When we look at the big picture, I know I came in as a resident not knowing some of the issues this county had. I learned through our budget processes between last year and this year that we have bonds, which to the typical person is a loan. We have bonds valuing over $27 million that we borrowed on our landfill. The landfill that I was told for 20 years as a resident is a cash cow. I don't know how a cash cow owes $27 million. And in that $27 million, with the amount of land space we have left, currently permitted by DEP, we don't have enough years in business to pay off $27 million worth of debt. That's a sad situation that the three of us are faced with. And we're gonna work on that. We're gonna figure out, we gotta apply for more land, more, they call it airspace and landfill. We gotta apply for more airspace. Because otherwise, we're gonna run out of space before we have enough money to pay off the debt. That was a mistake. I don't know who did that prior to us being here, but that's a mistake to have that kind of a debt. We also, as a county, believe it or not, sit on bonds right now, again, loans against the future, at $57 million. These debts have maturity dates 2030, 2031, out to 2038 and 2040. That's a long time to be paying on this debt. Fortunately, the annual payment isn't huge, but I think it's part of our responsibility to work at paying them down sooner. So that, I mean, at this point, my gosh, that's my son's generation and maybe my grandchildren's generation are going to be paying off a debt that was created before the three of us sat at this table. And that's huge. Again, not only were we the generation willing to spend all of grandma's savings, we were the generation willing to finance our children's generation. That's not right. We're going to fix these problems. People elected us to fix these problems. It comes with a lot of pain. We're going to change the face of Lycoming County. We're going to change. We slowly have been changing how we do business. You know, anybody that reads Pat's articles in the papers knows that we are picking on every contractor that tries to make a change order for them to make profit, because that profit comes out of us, the taxpayers. And we're not going to live with this stuff anymore. We're making these changes. We're going to find out the best way to run a county. We're not going to be overstaffed. We're not going to have outside contractors doing work that our own contractors, our own staff can do. We're not going to have all these outside firms doing work for us, because we can't afford to do that. And you wouldn't do that in your own business. If you had an accountant working for you, you wouldn't have other accountants doing your work on the outside. You do it yourself. And that's where we're going to turn this county into. I'm going to finish with the maybe a little joking side of the keyboard warriors that'll hit their tablets tonight when they read in the paper that we have a tax increase. About the three of us need to go. That's what you feel. You have the right to vote for us or not vote for us again. But we're doing what we feel we've been asked to do. So the comment of these three jokers, these three losers need to go, you can put it out there. We're not going to read it. We're not going to get ourselves upset about it. We're going to continue to do the job that the taxpayers elected us to do, which is fix the financials of this county. When we hear it's a money grab, I think I just clarified the money grab. There is no money grab. We have between two close to $100 million worth of debt. There's no money grab when you owe $100 million. You got to pay that off. The lining of the pockets. There's no lining of the pockets of these three commissioners or any staff within Lycoming County. None of the row officers are getting their pockets lined. The sheriff's not getting his pockets lined. The staff's not getting their pockets lined. You know who's lining their pockets? Some of these contractors. And we're going to stop that. There is no line. Again, you know, Pat's back there laughing when I mention her name, but you know, when you read Pat's articles, she flat and puts right in there. These guys don't want to pay for these extra rings around a light fixture. No, we don't. That's not our fault. But that's the money grab, was from those people, not from us. So there's not a contractor out there that's got the three of us in their pocket because we're picking on every one of them. We're going to stop this wasted spending. So we're not going to get our pockets lined by people that were doing business with the county, because we're not doing that type of business. The last I would say to the keyboard warriors, while you're out there tonight and you want to blast us, instead of blasting us, maybe take the idea of giving us some constructive criticism, some construction of how we should do things. You know, we struggle with, and I don't want to throw somebody under the bus, but I'm going to. We struggle with, we give $1 million to the library. We ask ourselves, is that too much? Is it not enough? Because we've cut the library funding over the last 2 years. The library's not happy with us, but it's something we need to do to balance our budget. But I asked the question, if you were sitting in my seat, what would you do? So instead of saying how bad I am, when because of a tax increase, tell me how you would do it or what you would do different, and I would appreciate reading that as opposed to reading there were a bunch of three yahoos that need to be elected out. Other than that, I will finish because I do like to finish on positive. I talked about a lot of debt. Commissioner Metzger talked about some issues. Maya Toon, our financial director, talked about where this budget started out at. And there was a doom and gloom and there was a painted bed. That's not where we're at. We've got this, for us to be able to sit up here for the first time and say the fund balance was not used, balance this budget is exciting news for Lycoming County. Exciting. And it's putting us on a path for that excitement for the future. So even though we may paint a doom and gloom picture as we talk about different things, the true bottom line is we are moving in the right direction. I'm still proud to be the representative of the constituents of Lycoming County. I believe I'm doing what they've asked me to do, and I will continue to do it as long as they have me here. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to elaborate before Commissioner Messina takes the mic. Commissioner Sortman and Commissioner Messina were elected. Each one of us commissioners are over different departments. Commissioner Massari had been over the landfill for 12 years. And I had asked Commissioner Sortman to oversee the landfill when he came into office. And what we've learned about the landfill, as you've read in the press, has not been good. We learned this past week, that the landfill had bonds of $27 million. And unless they get permitted for the land that we acquired, they do not have enough airspace and land currently to pay off that bond. We learned that this week. It was shocking and disturbing to all three of us that the bonds had been acquired in the past and the fee schedule hadn't been set, even covered that expense. This is part of the reason why the fees are going up at the landfill, because there's not even enough to cover their expenses of those bonds, let alone all their other expenses. So that was disturbing. So it's critical they get permitting for that new field so that they have a future going forward. So that was extremely disturbing to find out this past week. I want to thank Commissioner Sortman for his oversight on the landfill and the information we've learned, especially in the past 2 years.
All right. When people ask me if I like this job, I tell them I really do, but it is way harder than I ever expected. And, I've known Scott for a long time, and he used to talk about, the budget season, the stress of budget season. And like, I was a math major, I love numbers. And I was like, well, it's just numbers. How hard can it be? You just have to work on numbers. And then when you go into it, and there's so many moving parts. And as I've gone back to Heather multiple times through this, and I'm like, what about this number? She goes, well, we just don't know. There's so many unknowns coming up, whether it's an interest rate off a bond or whether it's what the healthcare costs are going to be. So that's why it's so complicated, because, in your simple algebra, there's one variable and you can always solve for one variable. But when you have 17 variables with as vast as it is, and then you're doing educated guesses, it's really, really challenging. And I do not to, repeat what these guys have said, but I so appreciate the groups that we have working with us, from, mine, Heather, and the people in financial, Nikki and her team in the controller's office, Cindy and her team in the treasurer's office. Like the groups that we have that are plugging away at the financial decisions, because the vast majority of stuff that we do is about the financial health of the company. there's a couple stuff, and when people, it's funny because when you campaign, I had a person campaigning, and the guy asked me, he goes, "What do you think of the border?" And I was like, I don't think anyone asks us in Lycoming County about the border. Like, we have like down home, local, on your streets and your communities, the decisions to make. And we are thankful for the groups that we have helping us and the experts that we keep going back to. We'll sit in meetings and we'll see some, we'll ask and say, somebody call Maya, somebody go get Heather, somebody get Mike. Like, and the experts in our teams that we rely on, we are so appreciative. I also am, as I've said this before, I'm appreciative of these guys. Like, I don't remember which one said it, but when we sat down at this, when we got to the point, no one wants to do a tax increase because, again, you're afraid. If you've ever run a business, you never want to raise your prices because you're afraid the next customer is going to walk in and say, well, yesterday it cost this much and now it's going to cost this much. And you're afraid you're going to lose customers and people are going to hate you. But when you look, the city Williamsport just raised their taxes again. School districts raised their taxes. It is a necessary evil. And when you talk to the people who get it, the really intelligent people have said to us, we should have just done it little bitty bits over and over and over instead of doing it twice in 20 years or 3 times, whatever we've done. So we didn't sit down and we didn't come into this year and say, we should raise taxes. That'll be fun. But as we got through it, we realized like we think we probably need to, better safe than sorry, let's do it now. And as someone said, all 3 of us had different numbers in mind. And we sat down and we talked. And I mean, this is how it's always been with us. It's been cordial, it's been respectful, it's been productive. And I guess that's not how it's always been here. We've heard legends of that it was different. And as we finally finalized this the other day, like we came to an agreement. And again, we all kind of disagreed a little. And then Mark and I went and got lunch. And that's like, because like there's something else now down the road, and the budget season is the biggest part of it. And again, I remember it. I thought Scott was being over dramatic when he talked about how hard the budget was, and now I've been through it twice, and I apologize because you're right. But now we've got other stuff. We've got other fish to fry, and it just doesn't stop. And we're constantly looking to improve because we're on the right path, as Mark said, but we're not out of the woods. The fund balance isn't where it used to be. We haven't replenished the piggy bank that grandma saved for us. And we're not going to be able to get there probably while we're here, however long we're here, but we're trying to get it in the right direction. And right now we're on the right direction, but there are constantly new challenges that come up. And, one of the ones, and this just when the sheriff's department came to us and said, we need deputies in our magistrate's office because of the hostility in these magistrates' office, and one of them's in Muncie, one of them's in Jersey Shore. And if something happened, they're too far away for us to get there in time to prevent. And so and it just so happens that both of our female magistrates are the ones that are furthest away. So that was a cost that we added that the county never had for years and years and years and years, but it was necessary for public safety. And again, we talk about budgets and public safety, and those are the major criteria that we follow. And it has been hard. It's still not done because Scott's like, it's proposed. There's probably little tweaks here and there. But again, I am now that I know, it's done kind of mostly, and we're relieved. But next October, it's going to be hard again. What I'm thankful for is the people in this room, whether you're sitting up there or back there, or up here, that we can just put our heads together and we'll figure it out again. But it's been heavy lifting for 2 years to kind of get the train back on the track. And now we think it will be smoother and smoother and smoother. But we know it's been hard for department heads. We know it's been scary for employees. And again, this is not what we wanted. They joke about politicians going around and shaking hands and kissing babies, and you think that's what, and that's very little of it. The rest of it is sitting around a room grinding and sitting at home, laying in bed and thinking. And I was on the phone with just a citizen last night, and we called, and I called him back or whatever, and he goes, "You didn't have to call me after hours." And I was like, "Well, this is the only time we have to talk, and if you can talk now, we can talk now." And I know I've talked to Heather over this weekend, and I was like, "I'm sorry that I had to bother you on a Sunday, but this is budget time," and I know, it is a grind and it is hard, and we're happy of the way it turned out, but we're more happy about the future going forward, that we really think that we've righted the ship. Don't like the fact that he called us losers, jokers, and yahoos in his speech. Did you hear that? All three of them. Couldn't he have just picked one insult? Use all three. We went from losers to jokers to yahoos. But I get it. Like, people, I've walked down the street and people have said to me, "We know you're going to, like, sooner or later you got to raise taxes." And it happens when we export. And hopefully that we've done all the other, because when we came in, we thought that we could run things more efficiently, as Mark said. We have done that. Hopefully, with the combination thereof, we become healthy, financially healthy very, very quickly. We have a consultant who we really like, who works with multiple counties. That's what he does. And he said the last 3 counties he worked with, he goes, "I recommended this, and they listened to it." He goes, "But you're in worse shape than they are. Don't get me wrong." So it was not good, and now we think we're making it better. So again, thank you to all the people involved, because like Scott said, it's the people that can fix it, and it'll be the same people next year when we roll up our sleeves and get back to the grindstone. So that's it. That's all I got.
So I can recall, and I shared this story with these two. I can recall right before they came into office, and being down in Washington, D.C. with the former director. We were down there for the levy and for the airport talking to congressman. And I opened up my email. Former financial director said that he's going to roll out a budget. And we got back a $33 million deficit, which isn't what we were told a month prior to that. And I think the Capitol Police were going to come over to me and ask what the issue was, because I was like so upset, screaming at our director. And I got to call the former 2 commissioners on the phone and said, "We need to sit down tomorrow. I know you guys are on your way out." So we met the next day and got the deficit down to 14 million and used the fund balance to cover that at the time. And then these 2 gentlemen joined me and done what we've done over the last 2 years, cutting up 28 million. First budget that did not need the fund balance to balance the budget is huge. That hasn't happened in at least 15 years, if not 20. And I spoke to one of the former commissioners on the phone the other day, and he goes, "That's the way county government always operated, that and tax increases. And that's not good financial responsibility." So we got the team in place now, and we're going in the right direction. We'll continue to work on this. It's extremely stressful. We sign up to do this. I would add to Commissioner Sortman's comments. It's easy to sit behind a keyboard and call us names. How about calling us on the phone? Give us your ideas and your suggestions. I had an employee yesterday call me, or she sent me an email on Friday. Great idea about future renovations. And so I called her yesterday to thank her. I shared it with Commissioner Messina. I got to share it with Commissioner Sortman yet. And I thanked her. Thanks for calling us. We want to hear ideas. We don't have all the answers. Call us with your ideas or suggestions. We'll listen to you. Our door is always open. We'll have that conversation. But I respect that individual much more than I respect an individual that calls us names behind our backs, takes the coward approach, doesn't talk to us face to face. We're here to serve the people. We're going to continue to serve the people. So let's have a dialogue. Let's have a dialogue to try to resolve, because we're all in this together. We're all in this together, and we want to hear ideas to try to to make life better in Lycoming County. So thank you. Hi, Shannon. Shannon, you have anything you want to add? 'Cause
I
you've been with us
did.
for about a year.
Yeah, you were gonna let me speak for the first time.
She's part of the team.
I always have a lot to say.
So don't mess it up or it'll
Yeah.
be last.
No, I've been with the county since July 31st, and it's completely different. I came from the private sector coming into public sector, and my idea of how county government worked was completely different. I really, and I'm very ashamed to say, I'm very naive, where that came from. And I've told the commissioners, I really never came out for the elections for commissioners. And if I did, it's like, oh, that guy wears a nice tie. I think I might vote for him. Or, hey, I like his hair. Looks great. So
It was about me.
yeah, that's right.
The hair wasn't about me.
Yeah. But, I've really gotten an education, baptism by fire, working on this budget, because I think we started working on this budget in August, right? You guys started working on this budget. So right out the gate, I came in thinking, oh, everything's running great and everybody knows everything and everybody knows what they're doing. And, everything's just perfect. I have never seen so many people work so hard in my life. And I want everybody to know in the public sector, in the public constituents, a lot of the decisions these guys are making are not easy. I've seen these three agonize over decisions, and Maya coming in and Nikki and the financial team. The decisions to raise taxes was not easy. And I think that took about 5 meetings for you guys to kind of, sit down and really hammer out what that means. And it was never about balancing the budget. That was the last part of raising taxes. All of the upfront thoughts in raising the taxes were, how is this going to affect our taxpayers? How are the things that we're doing within the county, how is that going to affect our current employees? How does it affect our retirees? All of those things were always on their mind when they were making decisions, and they're not easy decisions. People want you to know that, making those kind of decisions, it's not like they said, it's not, oh, we're going to raise taxes, we're going to create all this extra money. It wasn't. It was agonizing. Several days I'd see these guys come in and just look like they had the tar beat out of them. Maya coming in just looking like she'd been through a battle. That's how hard these guys are working on this budget. And I'm very proud to say that I work with such a great team here at the county. That's it. I appreciate what you guys do. I will be voting more educationally this time around, next time the voters come around. But yeah, I just want everybody to know that what these guys do is hard every day. A budget is definitely not what I thought it was. I thought it was like an endless, like my grown kids think I have an endless supply of money. I thought the same thing. Oh, they'll just get money from the state or whatever. It doesn't work that way. Each municipality is given a certain amount of money through tax revenue, and they have to find grants and federal funding and state funding to make up all those extra things. And that's not easy. So when they have their precious amount of money, that's it. It's a set amount of money. They are really not just trying to figure out what the day-to-day expenditures are, but how can we utilize this money and like funding for the library, funding for YWCA, funding for homelessness. Those are all decisions that these guys are having to make every single day, and with a limited amount of money. What cause is more worthy than another? Those are very difficult decisions to make, and they make them daily. And if they don't make what the public feels is the right decision, people are on the phone bitching about it, and it's not fair. you know, they're doing the best that they can to make sure that everybody is thought of. And that's it. You guys can let me speak again sometime? Did I do all
Yeah,
right?
I just want the record to say that she's the one that said bitching about it and it wasn't me. I want everyone to read that.
Extra money in my swear jar.
I also wanted to, before we're done here, to piggyback on this, as Scott talked about the keyboard wars. When your brother pitched in the big leagues for 18 years, you learn to read a lot of stuff and you just get hardened to it. So none of that stuff really bothers me. We knew when we ran, it comes with the territory. I do want to thank, there have been multiple people who work around here and have been here for a long time. There's a guy who's really bright, who's been with the county for years, and I was sitting down with him about a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I would not want to be in you guys' shoes because they know how complicated it is. And I got a text from another employee who said, it was just like 2 sentences. Just, by the way, I just want you guys to know, you guys are doing a really good job. So we do hear those as well. The people who are in the know, and the closer you get to it, you see the grind that goes on. And again, I know I've said this multiple times. I'm really impressed with, you always hear this about government workers, and government is slow. Well, government is slow a lot of times because gridlock is important. I had a friend that once told me, you're supposed to have gridlock because you're not supposed to get new people involved that just change everything right away. There's a reason that it's been that way for a while. And as we've talked about, sometimes we deal with boards, with commissions, sometimes we deal with authorities, sometimes we deal with departments, sometimes we deal with row officers, and everyone has all these different rules. Sometimes we deal with the courts, and there's always different rules and relationships, and how do we figure all this stuff out? So it's hard to get things done quickly. And I didn't know it either. I was almost as naive as Shannon was about this. Until you get inside it and you see how it works, it is so complicated at times. Sometimes government makes it more complicated than it needs to be, but there's a reason that the process takes a while. And so yeah, yes, there's always going to be negativity and online, that's here, but we've gotten a lot of compliments too. And I thank those people for noticing and appreciating. And again, as they said, like we've got 2 really good ideas this week from people who work at the county or people who are just concerned citizens who are like, hey, did you ever think of this? And as like the one I got was like, no, I don't know anything about that. Explain it to me. And he walked me through it. And I said, you know what? As soon as we get this budget done, I'm going to talk to the other 2 about it, because that is something that we can look at. So those are the aspects where whichever one of you said to our doors are always open. If you've got an idea of how you can help. But if you just want to call us jokers and losers and yahoos, that's fun too. That's always fun.
We are.
Yeah.
Lastly, I want to thank the treasurer and her staff. They've been fantastic too. So thank you for working with us. I look forward to working with you in 2026. Our new sheriff, instrumental.
There's a new sheriff in town.
We asked him to go back and look at his budget. He did. He made cuts. Again, it's a team approach. So, any public comment at this time?
Just real quick, I would be remiss if I also did not thank my 2 colleagues. Again, if you can't take a professionalism approach to things, the 3 of us sat, as Shannon said, probably 5 meetings, but then there was the real meeting that we had to sit down and we had to come up with the solution. And we sat behind closed doors, the 3 of us. There were no raised voices. There was no punching. There was no threats. It was just 3 people saying what's best for the taxpayers, with 3 different ideas, but we worked it out. So I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to work with 2 other professional people that are just here to get the job done. So I thank them both.
Thank you. Thank you too. Any public comment? Gotta be some. Okay. Any questions? Okay.
We do have some online.
Okay.
Okay, so first comment from Lee Lobsher, 6458. This is a very hard decision to make. It is good that you are being fiscally responsible and are making the hard decisions rather than continuing to kick the can down the road. From Megan Lehman, 1101, Lycoming County is not alone. Inflation means everything costs more and the county cannot absorb it forever. Bradford County is proposing a tax increase of 1.625 mils for 2026.
Wow.
From Mr. Thomas Adams, 3614, thank you for your work. Are there any regulations that are unnecessarily costing us financially by hamstringing businesses from growing? Regulations from the city, state, and federal governments, which we might be able to lobby against and wake up our legislatures to any detrimental policies. Maybe using an AI tool to aid in the search for such roadblocks. Definitely in conjunction with the legal department. I think there may be other options for funding, but would probably need to go through our legislatures as well. I do believe the commitment to working with ICE is absolutely necessary to aid in reducing costs in many ways. Thank you again and good morning, Lycoming County. May God bless America and may God bless Lycoming County. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Again, call us on the phone if you have any questions. When you hear things like, well, the county gets money from the ICE building, where's that money go? We don't get any money from ICE building. Okay, that was a city property. We have nothing to do with that. They're using landfill closure money to operate the golf course. The landfill closure money is in a separate fund. We can't touch it, nor we want to. Golf course is actually making money. They'll be here in a couple of weeks to give us a check. They haven't come back and asked us for money for years. For years. Since I was a commissioner, and they haven't asked me for a dime. They ask us for a loan for golf carts they're paying off. So instead of hearing rumors, ask us the facts. Well, if we don't know the facts, we'll get you the facts. We'll go out and find out the people who know the truth, and we'll find out what it is. Instead of spreading stupid rumors. So we know it's not going to stop it, but maybe at least one person will listen and ask questions.
I got one more
Yeah,
thing
go
real
ahead.
quick. Today is my mother's birthday. I want to say happy birthday to my mom. And of course, as we get, she said, I don't need anything for my birthday. So I'm going to bring her a copy of the budget. There we go.
Once you throw it out of the house, raise your rent.
One of the two, or both. But she can't do both.
Anyone who knows Ellie, she's a sweetheart. She's a retired nurse. She's loved by her community, and if you have a chance to know her, see her, wish her happy birthday.
And because she worked in an OBGYN office, there's about 3 decades of women who are like, yeah, I know your mom. So yeah, I do. I do.
Happy birthday, Ellie.
Yeah, happy birthday. She gets a budget. Lucky for her. I'll even wrap it.
Oh, I'm gonna go. Yes, Dennis.
Hi, Dennis Correll.
Dennis, you're supposed to come to the podium.
Podium. State your name and
Morning, gentlemen. Dennis Correll representing the Conco Library. There's 2 other library people here representing the trustees. We thank you for all your hard work. We're anxious to see the budget to see how we have fared because we're extremely nervous about that. The question I do have is last week we were all shocked to see about the announcement about early retirement and the voluntary layoffs. Do we know those numbers yet, and are they reflected in this budget?
Maya.
Yes.
So we do have confirmations from some individuals that have elected to take that, those options, and they are reflected in the 20.
Yeah. And I believe the positions that we eliminated because the ones that were on the TDA that hadn't been filled, we went back and spoke to that. That was ahead of about 2.5 million,
Yeah, when it was all said and done, it came to about 2 million.
about 2 million
Yes,
extra.
that we had in the budget accounted.
So that's 2 million more that we don't have to pay for going into next year. So that positions that were actually open, the department heads or elected officials said, we can go without. So that saves us $2 million going forward. So.
Is the number of voluntary layoffs significant or?
No, not
no.
at this time. No.
No, it's less than 10.
It is less.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But just curious.
We haven't done any mandatory layoffs. So we don't go that, but that's part of the reason for, it all goes into the big equation. So, we know the employees here are valuable, affects their families. We're gonna make sure they continue, going forward. But we're gonna continue to look at different departments and see what, as one of the judges put last week, we can do more with less. And we have to think that going into the future, because federal and state monies aren't there anymore. It's not there anymore. So our only source of revenue is taxes. We don't want to come back to the table each year and raise taxes. It's not in our DNA. We don't want to do that. We understand that this is extremely stressful, even raising $500,000. Like I said, we were all on 3 different pages, and thank God we had the meeting yesterday, because I was stressed. I was torn between what was going on here, and we reached a consensus, and we did it as professionals, and they were experiencing the same stress. It's not our stress; it's the people's, what we're going to inflict on people out in the public. We don't want that stress on them, because they have to make decisions on where they're going to have to cut back. So we don't want to put that burden on people, but we have to in order to make sure continue the services.
Well, I do appreciate everyone's support over the years for the county library system, because it is near and dear to my heart. And as I reported previously in previous speeches, for every dollar we get from the county, we are able to turn that into $13.2 worth of services. So every dollar taken away, that's $13.2 worth of services we can't offer. So again, we're anxious to see what the budget says for us. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it.
And when it comes to things like the library, those are the challenges too. Like the ones, because we're trying to keep costs low as we can, but we still have services that we need to provide, other than the services like, the prisons and the sheriff's office and the court systems, and the ones that we need to provide. But the community systems that make, our area, beautiful and help the citizens and to be, just more enjoyable for the people of our county. So those are challenges. And again, and like we said, next October, we'll be back at it, and we'll see, what we got right and what we didn't do so well, and we need to make a readjustment to our adjustment. So it is a continuing process, just like everything else in life, it's continuing.
We have basic services that have to do with homelessness, with food insecurities that are coming to us asking for. I mean, they're the basic needs of society, to have a place over your head, have food on your table. And again, thank you, the Controller's Office, for your food drive. We have so many food drives going on in the county right now. People are really hurt. And stuff with youth, our funds to help the youth, because we saw our juvenile budget is exploding. And that's an issue that has to be addressed by the courts. And unless we do the youth programs, these youth don't have anything to do. And so, again, fire tree, those organizations are critical in our community. Camp Susquehanna, they're all critical organizations, help reduce and make sure that our youth have an opportunity so they can become productive citizens. So it's a delicate balance, Dennis. So thank you.
And I have one additional comment online from Megan Lehman, 1101, 1000% agree with small incremental tax increases when needed rather than a big hike all at once. Much easier on everyone involved, better for internal planning and financial management. This is the way.
You don't ever want to get into what we just heard from Bradford County, 1.26 mils. Last year, I think it was Lackawanna County, it was 33% increase. We don't want to ever go down that rabbit hole ever. So that's just not good. I feel for those people. Okay.
So it's Thanksgiving week.
Yes.
So, here in Lycoming County, I think we all have a lot to be thankful for. We do live a quality life that a lot of people in this world don't live as good as most residents of Lycoming County. And we still live in a country that allows us to vote and allows us to be part of the decisions. And that's something to be thankful for. So when you look back to the original Thanksgiving, I guess they were thankful to be away from England and get a new fresh start. And I think we still enjoy that fresh start today. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
If there's nothing more, we've completed our agenda, so we'll be adjourned to next Thursday. I'm not sure the date, December the 4th at 10 a.m. Well, thank you everyone for attending.